Now, receiving a notice is not a good news, not especially for NRIs, because they can receive an income tax notice up to 16 years. And understand, if you receive some notice after 10 years, when don't even remember the transaction, forget about providing the documentation and all, it's a real nightmare. Now, in today's video, I'm going to talk about top reasons why an NRI receive an income tax notice and how he can avoid that. Because always you understand, prevention is better than cure. So let's understand what is the top reasons NRI receive income tax notices in this video. So let's begin. Reason number 1 is rental income. In most of cases, I have seen that NRIs has what property, they have lent that property on a rent also, and they're receiving some kind of rent either in their account or their spouse account, but they are not declaring that income as an income tax return. If your income is more than 2.5 lakh rupees, you mandatorily have to declare in your income tax return, and if there is any taxes, you have to pay taxes on that. I always say it's always safer to file your income tax return every year, because what happens in between, sometimes some transaction happens which mandates that you should file an income tax return, but basically as you are not filing regularly, you forget that also. Those things comes after a long period when income tax either willingly let you can say forget those transactions so that they can give you notices and they can make the things very bad for you, or maybe some other reasons. But sometime what happen, you receive notices after a long time when you don't have any track for those transactions. That's why make this habit to file income tax return every year. It doesn't cost much but gives you a lot of peace of mind. So first reason is rental income. Second reason, if I say, is the interest income. Lots of cases I have seen that there is a FDs, they have booked it here and they are receiving interest on that. I'm not talking about NRI FDs which you have booked in NRE account. These are FDs which are already there in a NRO account. So that you also have to take care. Third thing, if I say, in most of cases they forget to file an income tax return after selling a property, because in some cases they assume that already TDS is deducted, so they don't have to file any income tax return. That is not the case. If you are already sold a property, you have to file an income tax return, you have to declare your sale value, and if there is any excess tax, you have to pay. If there is any excess tax already you paid, you have to claim refund. So don't forget to file, because TDS is just a compliance which buyer does, but income tax return filing is your part of compliance. So don't forget that. Another reason you can find out, I have seen that sale of shares and stocks. What happens, generally you invest a lot of big amount and you forget, generally it is a long-term investment, so you don't sell every year. But 1 year suddenly you sell it and receive a good income, maybe more than 2.5 lakhs, or there is no income, but still you have to declare, you have to file an income tax return and you have to show that whether you made some profit or you made some losses. But once you sell stocks, either from your NRI account or you sell from your local shares which you are holding before you become a non-resident, you have to file an income tax return and declare. Because what happens, once these stocks are sold, generally the NSE or BSE, they report these sale with the income tax portal by filing a return, because they also have to file a return every year, and they quote your PAN number. But when the income tax department or its system checks there is no income tax return filed, and they have to issue a notice because there is a mismatching information where you have sold stocks but you have not filed the return. So that I'm saying, don't assume even you have made losses while selling stocks, you should file a return and declare those losses. The benefit, if you declare those losses, you can carry forward, and in the future if you make some profit, you can adjust towards those losses. So this is another benefit of filing income tax return in case you are selling stocks. Next very common reason is when you receive some gift from some you can say your parents in India, or somebody sends you money across. This is a kind of mismatch. You understand, income tax notice doesn't come always because there is a taxable income. Most of time there is a gap in the information. So generally when somebody sends some kind of gift to you or some kind of foreign currency to you, they have to declare the PAN number of the person who is sending and the PAN number of the person who is receiving. But if there is no similar communication in the income tax return, there is a mismatch in the data, and this mismatch of data is the main reason why income tax department issue the notices. So here what I'm saying, I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just telling you all the income tax notices doesn't culminate into tax demands or tax payment. In most of the cases is a simple miscommunication between two sources of information. So suppose when you are somebody buying a property, the buyer files a TDS return, he reflects your PAN number, but if there is not matching return, IT return, there is a communication in the data, and this miscommunication in the data which income tax department has collected from different sources basically forces them to issue notices. But when the notices come, this is a real nightmare for you, because you have to collect all the data, send them, and then you have to convince them there is no tax evasion has been done. And let me tell you, in most of cases, if you're not able to convince them, that can result into actual demand. So you don't have to pay any taxes, but because the income tax department feels like that, they can issue a demand and you have to pay that. So the better option always is take a precaution. Now, last reason, if I have to tell you why NRIs receive notices, is not the income but the expenses. Yes, most of the time I have seen the NRI buy properties, buy stocks, buy some expensive things, okay, which basically gets reported here. So when even you're using your NRO account and you're buying some property or some other stuff and you are not reporting, then the system gets again the same trigger that there is a expenses happening but there is no source of income. Now understand, the same thing happening again here, miscommunication of the data. So one way they're showing that somebody is buying property because your PAN is reflected there as a buyer, somebody is buying stock more than 10 lakh or somebody buying mutual fund more than 10 lakh, your PAN number is quoted everywhere. And generally, if even you buy a property, the sub-registrar file an income tax return. Yeah, they also have to file an income tax return, but in their income tax return, they have to reflect your PAN number and they have to just say that these people have bought the property and these people have sold the property. So all this data goes to income tax system, where the system collects all the data from different sources. Like if you buy a stock, then your broker will file a return, or NSE or BSE file a return. Okay, so from there also they collect data. Then if you buy, suppose, mutual fund, then your mutual fund company will also file an income tax return stating that they have sold or they have bought so many units from so PAN number. Okay, so your PAN number gets reflected everywhere, but at the same time don't have any matching data from your income tax return, and that's the reason you receive notices. So as I told you, always receiving a notice doesn't mean that you have to pay taxes, but of course you can say it's a big inconvenience and wastage of time and money as well. So better, the simple example, always I say, even suppose you don't have to file returns, there is no harm filing return every year, because you can avoid this kind of miscommunication and you can save a lot of money and time which you have to involve if any notice is received. So that's the main reason I have quoted here. If you have any other reason, or if you have received notice for any other reason, please put as a comment and then I will give you the solution how you can handle that situation. So in this video, that's all. Thank you. Have a nice day.